It is another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the 4 films released on March 13th, 2009. We have, like I said, 4 films to take a look at. Half of them are good, half of them not so much. Let's go ahead and get right to it. Let's start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, Disney's latest live-action remake, and starring, once again, Dwayne Johnson, Race to Witch Mountain. So in this film, you have Dwayne Johnson starring as Jack Bruno, a Las Vegas taxi driver who must get extraterrestrials Seth and Sarah, played by Anna Sophia Robb, and also, who's the other kid? I think I accidentally said that he was Josh Hutcherson, but no, I'm thinking of Bridge to Terabithia, but no. Alexander Ludwig is the kid who plays Seth in here, and they have to get them to their spaceship on Witch Mountain before an assassin, played by Kieran Hines, and several government agents can catch up to them. Carla Gugino is also along for the ride, and also you have Tom Everett Scott, Christopher Marquette, and Gary Marshall among the cast in here. This is the second time that Dwayne Johnson's teamed up with Andy Fickman, who directed him earlier in The Game Plan a couple years ago, which was a fun movie overall. And kind of like that, this is a pretty fun movie overall. It is not the smartest movie ever, but really, it doesn't need to be. It knows exactly what type of a movie it is. It's the perfect kind of a Saturday afternoon movie, like you watch on Freeform when there's nothing else on TV and there's no sports going on. You can turn it on and just like, yeah, this is a fun movie overall. And it is a very enjoyable film. I think Dwayne Johnson has a lot of charisma that shows in this. You know, he and Carla Gugino have some good chemistry in the scenes where they have to work together. And, kind of interesting that they would rework together again 6 years later in San Andreas. And the film overall has some pretty impressive visual effects, all things considered. I mean, this is only a $50 million budgeted film, and it just shows how good they can make the effects in here overall with not even that small of a budget, but smaller compared to the typical blockbusters as a whole. And like I said, it's a movie where you don't go into it expecting anything smart or clever. You just want to go in there and watch a good, fun, a cheesy, fun Disney movie in general. Now, I never grew up with the original Witch Mountain movies in general, but you can get a pretty much a good idea of what those other movies were about in general, and this is a nice upgraded version of that. I think it's a very entertaining film. I think it's a very solid remake. Nothing too crazy, nothing too amazing, but definitely one you want to check out. It's one I do recommend checking out, Race to Witch Mountain. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here. It's the remake of one of Wes Craven's early films, The Last House on the Left. I guess one of the early mistakes that this movie made was in the marketing. Of course, the original movie is most notably known for the marketing campaign where they kept telling you, hey, if you have to avoid, in order to avoid fading, just keep telling yourself it's only a movie, it's only a movie. And I mean, that's why the original one still holds up on a number of different levels. And I actually said that this was one of his early films. I believe this is actually the first film he ever made as a filmmaker. I think this was before The Hills Have Eyes, but I thought I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on that one. But this is a remake of that, and you have a movie that follows Mary Collingwood, played by Sarah Paxton, who is a teenager who's abducted, raped, and left for dead by a family of violent fugitives. When her parents learn what has been done to her, they seek vengeance against the family who have taken shelter at their summer home during a thunderstorm. And you have a cast that also includes Monica Potter, Tony Goldwyn, Garrett Dillahunt, Aaron Paul, who is just coming into his own with Jesse Pinkman on Breaking Bad, Ricky Lindholm, Martha McIsaac. So pretty solid cast overall in here. And for a movie like this to be a remake of a classic movie in general, I will say this. It's one of the better horror remakes, but at the same time, it's definitely not a very good movie. It's one of those ones where it tries to go for the Saw audience. Like, it's more gorier and more, it's more gorier, more explicit than the movies before, than the previous film was. But you can tell it was made in the Saw generation, the Saw hostile generation, where we only have to be excessive in gore, and that's what's going to be the real shock value here. Well, the first movie was not like that whatsoever. There was at least something we got besides the violent aspects of it. We got to know the characters. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the original Last House on the Left still holds up. And this one, it almost gets there, but it just feels like it's contractually obligated to not have an engaging story or likable characters that we want to follow. We got to follow the Saw hostile routine, and that just really kind of hurts the film in general. And just there's no real fun in watching this movie in general. I mean, it's just not an engaging movie. There's nothing that's thought-provoking about it. There's nothing that's so intense that you have to avoid fainting by just telling yourself it's only a movie. There's just nothing there that makes this movie worthwhile in the end. I mean, like I said, it's one of the better horror remakes, but even then, it's still not one I'd say you have to check it out. It's definitely an inferior film compared to the original movie, and it just didn't work for me. So yeah, skip on Last House on the Left. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie. And, we all know Zach Cregger as the director of Barbarian. He also is behind stuff like Companion and Weapons. But I bet you can't figure out what his first movie actually was, more than likely because you probably have never even seen it before. Well, on the one hand, Zach Cregger saying that he'll be a man after this whole experience coming out. That ended up being true because he has gone on to become one of the most well-known young horror directors out there with Barbarian, and of course he's working on Weapons right now, and he's got the Resident Evil movie, which has given him a lot of money in general. So hey, he was right on that front. But yeah, this is one of those movies where you see that trailer and you see moments in there that are really funny, but at the same time you also see stuff in there that's just kind of a generic ass raunchy comedy, and that's really the major problem with the movie, is that there's times when it has a lot of flash of potential, but then it just kind of falters on some of the stuff that you expect to see in a movie like this. So, Zach Cregger plays a young man who awakens from a 4-year coma to hear that his once virginal high school sweetheart, played by Raquel Alessi, who played the young Roxanne in Ghost Rider, the 2007 movie, of course, has since become a centerfold in one of the world's most famous men's magazines, Playboy. He and his sex-crazed best friend, played by the late Trevor Moore, rest in peace, of course, decides to take a cross-country road trip in order to crash a party at the magazine's legendary mansion headquarters and win back the girl. And yeah, as I said before, it's definitely a movie where that trailer kind of sums up the good stuff in here and the bad stuff as well, because there is a lot of good funny moments in this movie, like the stuff with the firemen. Like, they're not only are they psychotic firemen, but they're so psychotic that they can't even figure out how to turn their fire trucks fast enough. I mean, that scene there was funny. Like, I like the scene where Trevor Moore character is about to have sex with this woman on the bus, and they hit a bump and she goes flying out the window, and he's just stunned and just like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do, and just slowly but surely backs out of the room. Like, that's funny stuff too, and there is stuff like that all throughout the movie. The problem with the movie is that the stuff that they show, there's also stuff in there that just doesn't work. Like the scene where Trevor Moore is hitting his best friend while he's still in the hospital, coming out of the coma, like hitting him with all that stuff. It's just like he keeps getting injured. Like, that seems like it's way too excessive. Like, it's just going too far. It just seems like they're doing it for the sake of having a joke there, and they throw in lazy attempts at gross out humor. Like, the big thing is that because he's been in the coma for 4 years, he hasn't gone to the bathroom, so now he has explosive diarrhea, and it's just like, really? We're going to throw that in there? Like, it's just... And it doesn't happen once in this movie. It happens 3 times. 3 times over the course of this goddamn movie. Every 30 minutes it happens, and it just feels like, why? Like, why do we have to throw that in there? And it tries to titillate you with the boobs, with the hot ladies and all that. Like the scene in the trailer where you see the two guys getting picked up by the lesbian couple who continuously want to have sex with each other but need somebody to drive the car. Like, it's literally there for them to just show 2 hot women having sex, and having one of them use their tongue to open the lock at the mansion, which I'll admit that's another really good moment in here. But again, like, they just see it's in between the stuff that actually does work. There's stuff in there where you just feel like they're forcing it in because it's an R-rated, gross, raunchy comedy, so we have to go down the American Pie route here. But the difference is, American Pie can make that stuff, that gross out humor, smart. Like, the Judd Apatow movies can make that funny, that raunchy humor smart. This just feels like they're trying way too hard to just get a laugh out of you, and it's not funny most of the time. There's times in here where it is funny. There is a good cast involved in here. I like the fact that Hugh Hefner was so interested in this. Like, he really liked what he saw from this, and he wanted to be a part of this movie. In fact, Robert Wagner was originally cast as Hugh Hefner, and they showed it to Hefner, and he said he did a great job, but the audience at the test screenings for this didn't react to it, and so they wanted Hefner to play himself in here, which he was more than willing to do. So I like the fact that he was able to go in there and do that. And yeah, I think it's It shows how much he was really interested in these movies like this. 'Cause he was also in The House Bunny too, which is the far superior movie overall. But this, it's a complicated movie. This is a film where half of it is actually kind of decent, but then the other half is just stuff that they're just forcing down your throat, like really just bad comedy all across the board. And it's just like, there was a potential here for something really good, especially since The Whitest Kids You Know is a really funny comedy group. And the fact that these guys were involved in this movie, and although they weren't initially interested in it at first, they eventually decided to work on it in general. But, I mean, they've even gone back and said, like, before Zach Moore died, he basically said that, actually, again, their names mixed up, I keep getting their names mixed up. Trevor Moore. I think I've accidentally said their names wrong a couple times in this, and I apologize for that. But Zach Krager himself has said before that they thought they did the best they could with the idea, and although they thought some scenes worked, their film was the first attempt to make a movie, which I think it kind of plays part into it in general. So you can't really hit it out of the park the first time around. You can't be like Saturday Night Live with the Blues Brothers, or the Kids in the Hall with Brain Candy. Like, you really have to go into this knowing that this is probably not going to be your best work overall, and that your better days are ahead of you. Well, at least for Zach Krager, his better days are definitely ahead of him. Even though Trevor Moore has stood by the movie up until his death, comparing it to the TV show, saying that some parts are funny, some parts ain't. And the director still have a sense of humor about the poor reception, as they would read the poor reviews and sarcastically remark about the film's quality on live stream, which they at least know that, yeah, it's not going to be for everybody, but they still have fond memories of it, which I can't really argue with them on that front, even though I will say this, it's not the terrible movie that everyone thinks it is. Like I said, half the stuff in there is very funny, but then when they have to throw in the lazy, gross-out humor and just the lazy attempts to try to get boys in here to see the TNA moments, that's where I think it really kind of draws the line to not being a good movie overall. It's a mixed opinion for me, but more leaning towards my thumb going down on it, really. It's just kind of like, I didn't hate it, but I don't really like it either. I mean, it's one of those movies where I got suckered into it, and by the time I watched it, it was just kind of like, yeah, this isn't as good as I remember it was. But like I said, it's not the worst raunchy comedy I've ever seen, and at least they're trying on some parts. It's just the stuff where they throw in the lazy humor that really kind of does it for me. But I mean, that's just my personal take on it, per se. So that's my thoughts on Miss March. Let's go ahead and wrap this up by taking a look at easily the best movie on this entire show this week, and that is, of course, Sunshine Cleaning. Easily one of the more underrated movies released in 2009. You have a story that follows Amy Adams and Emily Blunt, who are two sisters who start a crime scene cleanup business, and the various events that occur in their respective lives. Amy Adams plays Rose, who is a responsible house cleaner raising her 7-year-old son Oscar, and she's also having an affair with a married cop, her high school sweetheart. And Nora, played by Emily Blunt, can't hold a job. Their dad, Joe, played by Alan Arkin, is quirky, and when Oscar is expelled for his odd behavior, Rose wants to earn enough to send her to private school. And Max suggests she clean up after crime scenes, suicides, and deaths that go undiscovered for a while. Rose enlists Nora, and Sunshine Cleaners is born. Nora bonds with the dead. Rose finds out that it's a regulated business, and complications arise. And it really does work mostly because of the great performances by Blunt and Adams. I mean, you can buy them as sisters. You can buy them helping out these people who have just gone through these horrible, horrible situations that they're cleaning up. They're not just there to clean up the mess, but they're also trying to give these people an uplifting look on life in general. And it just works really well. There's a great cast. It also includes Steve Zahn, Eric Christian Olsen, Kristen Collins Jr., Marilyn Reichkup. And this is a really, really solid film. It's directed by Christine Jeffs, who has not made a movie but in a long time since this, but she did have a movie that was at Tribeca last year, A Mistake, which features Elizabeth Banks, which supposedly got a lot of good reviews, and I'm actually kind of surprised it has yet to get a distribution release, because I'm really kind of curious to check it out. I really like what this woman did with this film. This is a really good movie, man. This is one of the more underrated films that came out in 2009, and it might very well be the best thing that Overture Films put out as a studio in their brief time on this planet. It's one I highly recommend checking out. Sunshine Cleaning. If you can't find it on DVD, find it online. I'm sure you can find it on Amazon or find it on Netflix. Find it anywhere, man. It's a film that I highly recommend checking out. It's one of the best movies of the year, and one I highly recommend checking out. Sunshine Cleaning. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this edition of Time About the Movies. And the next time we meet, we'll take a look at March 20th with 3 movies, including Nicolas Cage starring in Alex Proyas' latest film, Knowing. We have Jason Segel and Paul Rudd starring in the latest comedy, the frat pack comedy, if you will, I Love You Man, directed by John Hamburg, the writer of Meet the Parents. And we also have Julia Roberts and Clive Owen leading an all-star cast in Duplicity. We'll take a look at those 3 films that'll be coming up tomorrow on the show. So until then, thank you so much for watching. And if you did enjoy this and want to see more videos like it, please go ahead and hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, notification button, and the bell. That's where you get updates on new videos when they come out. And we do post new videos here every day. So with all that said, I'm off. I'll see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.